Well, I think my very first experience with jazz, I really didn't have a choice. My mother wanted me to play piano, so I had to play piano. My mother drilled me with theory every day, over and over and over and over again. So by the time I was 8 years old, 9 years old, I knew all the sharps and flats, backwards and forwards. Matter of fact, the neighborhood used to use me as a little showpiece. And they, come here, watch this little kid. And they asked me musical questions, so I would know it. I started learning different jazz songs. I remember the first jazz song I learned, I was about 12 then, was the Swingin' Shepherd Blues. And I won a contest. Billy Paul was also on the contest, but he was much older then. So he won, and I won as a kid, and I would play the Swingin' Shepherd Blues, and I would do the split, you know, and they had a big life-size poster of this wonder kid. So it started there. I ended up going to the Army, and that was almost like a college in itself, because we had to practice. So by the time I got out of the Army, you know, I was playing a lot. And I came back to Philadelphia, I was looking for something to do. So during that period, they had something that Settlement Music School and the City Recreation Department had started called Better Break Music Camp. So I got hired at Better Break Music Camp as the music librarian. Odine Pope was a jazz band director. And Odine came to me, he said, "But look, Lovett, I'm getting ready to go back on the road with Max Roach." So he said, "Well, look, this is what we're gonna do. I'm probably leaving in a couple of weeks. If we get together and I show you how to read band charts, you think you'd be comfortable in taking it?" I said, "Well, I'll try it." And that's how that started. And Odine was also teaching at Settlement Music School. Odine asked me, he said, "Well, Lovett, you want to take my place as a substitute down at Settlement?" So I said, "Of course, yeah, I'd love to." We started developing kids, and that went on and on. That first group, when Joey DeFrancesco came in the group at, I think, about 9 years old. Jimmy Gray, who's playing with the Roots now. Questlove, Chris McBride.
And the gentleman who ran the jazz program there at Settlement, to this very day, is one of my biggest mentors and a man I love dearly. His name is Lovett Hines. Mr. Hines welcomed me down to the Settlement Music School, and it was there I met Joey DeFrancesco, and Joey and I became lifelong buddies. It was there I met the Landon brothers, Robert and Byron Landon, Lewis Taylor, Antonio Parker. Goodness gracious, a whole lot of good cats.
So at that point, I ran into Trudy Pitts and Mr. C. And at that time, they had reopened the Clef Club. And I asked them, were they interested in having a music education program? So they talked to the board, and they came and I said I could come in and start a program. And when I started a program, I think 2 students from Settlement came with me, Jaleel Shaw and Daoud El-Bakara. So I started with 2 students.
I owe a lot to the Clef Club, and just Mr. Hines, just directing like different tunes. We were playing like Joy Spring, we were like 12 years old. Like that stuff is priceless. Like you had John Blake coming through, doing master classes, and if it wasn't for the Clef Club, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
I wouldn't be sitting here if I had never met Mr. Hines and never worked with Mr. Hines, you know, and you know, I never had that experience. That experience was very important. Just being in Philadelphia alone, I had people that really had my back. They were like mentors, you know. I had Mr. Hines, I had Mr. Rayburn Wright, who was my private saxophone teacher, and my amazing mother. I don't even know how I almost left here without talking about my mom.
That's right, that's what we were say something about.
My mother is the most amazing mom in the world.
I remember Jaleel's mother came to me one time, and she was really so worried about Jaleel being, making a living as a jazz musician. And she said, "But Lovett, you know, how he's gonna make it, you know, or Mr. Hines, how he's gonna make it as a musician? You know, is there any work for jazz musicians?" So I told her at the time, I said, one of the things I would like for all my kids to do is approach the music as any other professional. If he's gonna be a lawyer has to go to law school, and he has to have all the tools. So a musician, he has to be able to read, has to play the instrument properly, and become technically as strong as possible. Then you learn how to read, you learn the fundamentals, you learn how to range. Kids have to learn those disciplines, right? And once you learn those disciplines, then you're equipped. The essence of it is to make these musicians really competent, strong musicians. And once they had that, I could actually go to a parent and say, yes, these kids can make a living in music, and they can get into great colleges and have a career. Only thing I really did, after I think about it, is I just gave them the opportunity to be creative, and told them where to look. I exposed them to, I think, the right people, all right, the right music, and I was honest about it.